G'day, legends. It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here. Before we get stuck into another great interview brought to you by Crannk.com and thatmetalstation.com, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and that way you can keep up to date with all the best music and interviews from all over the world. Hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crannk.com and with thatmetalstation.com. So no matter where you are in the world, I'm getting to have a chat with Rick Monroe. We're getting to go a bit rock and a whole lot of country today. Rick, cheers for joining me, my friend.
Yeah, man. How you doing?
No, absolute pleasure, man. I'm really glad to come across your music. When Shauna sent this over, I was a little bit like, and then I jumped into it, man, and really enjoy it. It must be good for you as a musician to be able to reach across different genres and to different fans and that as well.
Oh man, I love it. It's always so cool, especially because I grew up. I used to have long bleach blonde hair when I was a kid, and so I kind of been into all kinds of music, and so it's really cool. Like when we're out and we just opened up for Queensryche, and they're like, "We love your stuff," and I'm like, "I was a kid. I used to drive my mom nuts listening to you guys." So it's cool, and I love that people are being more open to all kinds of music now. You know?
Yeah. Well, can you tell me first off, like, I want to ask about that. How did you tell me a little bit about the early days, how you first got into music? Tell me about, how you first picked up guitar and kind of you evolved to a young musician to your first album there as Rick Monroe.
Well, I must have started, man, when I was in the womb. My mom used to always break to the beat of songs, and I just remember that growing up, and I wanted to be a drummer when I first started. So I got 9 years old. I got a drum set. I thought I was all into it. And then I realized carrying drums was a pain in the ass. So, and then I saw like back to back, I saw a live David Lee Roth concert and a live Garth Brooks. And I went, those guys have got the best jobs. That's what I want to do. And I also grew up listening to a lot of, my mom was into singer-songwriters. So from the moment I picked up the guitar, I was already writing, but I didn't start playing guitar until I was like 17 or 18. It was like later. But the moment I picked it up, I was always trying to write songs as well as learn songs. So I've kind of always been doing that ever since. And then, I kind of bounced around, did a couple of rock things. And then I started kind of gravitating more and more towards country and more like singer-songwriter country, Americana stuff. And it's funny because now all of a sudden I'm doing a bunch of like rock stuff. So I kind of ebb and flow.
Ebb and flow. Yeah. Well, that first album I kind of dove back into was the Shame one. I think was from around 2000 roundabouts. And as you just said, the singer-songwriter Americana feel I really got on that album as well.
Right. Well, the amazing thing about that album, and I was so green. I was beyond green when I did that record. I'd never really done anything. And I was actually in Bulverde, Texas, and I had no idea who the guys I was recording with. Friend turned me on to this guy. I'm in his studio, and this old guy named Augie Myers walks in and plays accordion, and some guy named Freddie Fender was in there, and Doug Somm, and I'm just like, whatever. And I'm working with these guys, and finally one night, my buddy goes, "Hey man, do you know who my dad is?" And I'm like, "Not really." He goes, "Do yourself a favor, look up, Bob Dylan and his Grammy acceptance." And he comes out and Bob Dylan goes, "I'd like to thank Augie Myers." And I was like, oh, so I look him up and it's the Texas Tornadoes, Sir Douglas Quintet. Freddie Fender, obviously Freddie Fender and Flaco Jimenez played for the Rolling Stones. And I had no idea who those guys were, but I got the opportunity to have them on one of my first albums.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about that next album, Against the Grain, man.
That one, we did that in LA with a bunch of different, I kind of had a small, like a band at the time, but not really. We did a lot of it ourselves, man. Just in like, we rented out a warehouse and cut all the stuff, went in and mixed it, I think at Paramount Studios. And it was that's what kind of got me to move to Nashville. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm done with trying to do this kind of stuff in LA. There was no scene. I've been going back and forth. But my biggest problem with Nashville was always I wanted to do country music with a rock thump.
Yep.
I want that drive of a rock song, but with a country flavor. And then, I want a banjo over, a metal riff. And they were always like, we don't do that. I
felt that with that album too. That's where I felt like with that album, you were starting to find your groove and the sound you were going for, having those elements of rock. And as you mentioned, some of those metal riffs and things like that in there as well, with the country as the backbone and the heart of it all.
Well, and then, I had like Bobby Jared Zombek was playing drums for me. You know, I mean, and Bobby's done everything. Now he's doing George Strait, but he used to do Rob Halford. You know, he was in Fight. He was in Iced Earth. He was in Riot. He still plays with Sebastian Bach. I mean, imagine the guy who plays for Sebastian Bach plays for George Strait. So that's the kind of people I hang out with. You know, and it's just, I'm the same kind of guy. So yeah, we did that, and then we kicked around. We had a little bit of success with like Midnight Rider. Did well off of that, got us over to Europe to do some things. Then it kind of settled in, and we started doing more like EPs and stuff in Nashville. And we kind of chased after mainstream radio a little bit and had some success, but never quite as good as like when we did the Smoke Out the Window record. I think that was where we really started honing in on a sound. And that's when I started kind of wanting to have more of a band feel. And we started slowly kind of developing that through that record. And then COVID hit, and it kind of shut everything down. And at the time, you know, I had a pretty solid lineup. We just finished doing a West Coast tour. And we're like, well, what are we going to do? So we started streaming, which was really successful at first. Man, right? Man, remember when that happened? You would stream and like thousands of people would show up to just watch it stream because they were like, we're sick of being at home. We want to see something new. And we started doing that. Then we started writing. And then, you know, one of my friends had mentioned a producer when we were out in LA to see out here in Nashville. Because she's like, your live show is so much better than your recordings. We need to capture that.
Yep.
And so she introduced us to a guy named Malcolm Springer. And, you know, Malcolm's done a bunch of, he's got a lot of like rock credits, definitely. And kind of met him, started talking. Next thing you know, it's like, everyone was so involved in it that it became a band. That's where, you know, the Hitmen came around, because I was like, these guys are killing it. They're like Hitmen. So that kind of all evolved from the bass player and I writing all the material, which led to we don't even have a name for the album right now because we're only releasing it one track at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird time. A couple of points on there as well with the whole lockdown and the streaming and the COVID and the world, shall I use the word, the world's gone crazy for a while. Yes. There as well. You know what I mean? You had to find these different avenues, not only to connect to fans, but also to stay connected to the musicians and the artists you work with. So we all found different ways, i.e. through mediums like this, to be able to work with your fellow bandmates all across wherever you are in the world or in America or, you know, wherever, as well as for you guys to stay connected with the fans as well. I notice you got a hell of a lot of views on there as well with the streaming services, and also give people a different aspect and a different light on the artist, so they could see Rick Monroe and the Hitman as well, not only just as musicians, but as people.
Yeah, I think with the stream, the cool thing about the streaming is you really could be a little bit more yourself, and you weren't under the gun of, hey, we've got a 30-minute show, 40-minute show, whatever. We can kind of go as long as we want. The only problem is you'd start having your phone and people would be talking to you and you'd be trying to talk back to them. And then of course, we did a couple special streams with Ron White and Alex Ramundo, and they have that number one tequila. So I think there was a couple of them where we drank a little too much. Unfortunately, those are still up. So
it's also it's good to have people get along to these streaming services, but it's also a good way for them to kind of initially check out your music and see what Rick Monroe and the Hitmen are about, and then go off and buy the music and check out your back catalog and the other things you got going on, as well as catch you guys on tour, which you currently are on tour at the moment.
That's right. We're out with Mr. Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
Motor City Madman. It's crazy. Like, I remember the first night, it was funny though, because the first night he comes up to me, he's like, I don't know, man, you're a little bit like too Motown. I don't really think you're a country singer. And then I go, oh, well, I am. He's like, I don't think so. He's just kind of like this, but he's such a nice man. I mean, and that guy's crushing it every night. It's been a real honor. We go back out August 9th and we're out with him till the end of the month. So we get to play Detroit, which he's from Detroit. To me, that's going to be like the best show of the whole tour.
Yeah, well, you as you said, August 9th in Pittsburgh, you kick back off. You've already had 4 shows as well, and you started in Florida there. So how are those first 4 shows going, and how is the playing live again since everything's kind of open up? It's really, I know over here it's been great to get along to shows and seeing everyone kind of
come back to doing it.
Exactly, and have that connection.
We were really kind of fortunate because you know, there's kind of like the super above the line people were really screwed, because if you have to make several $100,000 a show just to do a show, you're not going to survive. But like if you're out and you're able to go do clubs and kind of do smaller stuff, things opened up a lot quicker for us in that sense. So we were able to get out and do a lot of playing. We've been really busy, even on a smaller level, which has been nice, and everybody's been able to really enjoy it. Now, obviously the festivals and the bigger things are starting to come back, and we want to get on those again. But the first 4 shows were all sold out. The crowds were great, and we obviously picked our set to kind of kick people in the teeth, knowing that we got to play in front of Ted. So I think we set a really good setup for it, and they've been so responsive. It's been great. I mean, I was really, I've had no idea what we were getting into, but like I said, Ted's been great. Ted's crew's been great. His fans have been amazing. I can't wait to get back out. And then we're going to do we're doing 7 days in a row straight. And then we go off and headline 2 shows and then come back and then, do another 5 or 6 shows. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, and it must be great to have those crossover of fans, as we just mentioned, but also with the rap there, that common ground track you've done with B Still and Grixley. Tell me about that one, man.
Well, man, we'd had the idea, my bass player and a guy that we do a lot of pre-production with, Brandon, they'd had this idea, and they're like, hey man, we kind of got this cool country feel, kind of a hip hop thing. And I go, what do you think? They sent me the track and I wrote a chorus. I'm like, I instantly had an idea for a chorus. And I sent it back to them, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. And I kind of explained how I wanted all mayhem in the vocals, but it to make sense. And then we started talking about different guys, and another guy named Grizz, who wrote the beat, is a rapper. And we figured Grizz was just going to do the rap, and that was it. And then, we ran in the studio, we ran into Malcolm, who also produced a track for B, some other things. And he's like, well, maybe, B could do a verse. So sent it to him. He's like, yeah, I got some ideas. Didn't hear from him for 6 months. And then all of a sudden one day he's like, I got it. And I'm like, all right. So he's going to come down, record it. Grizz is there to do his verse, and we're just going to kind of do it normal. Man, B got up. First verse was really cool. It's kind of like slow roll you into the song. Second verse is exactly what I wanted. Little Common Ground Could Unite the States of America is like the throat punch of that song. And something like that, to me, you don't want to preach to people. You don't want to make it hokey. You don't want to make it, it's kind of, the statement Common Ground speaks for itself, but you also want to be able to tell people what you mean without, you need, or whatever. And I think he did a really good job of bringing that out in a very, human way.
Yeah, I love the message behind the track as well. And it was groovy as, man. When I heard it, I was bouncing around as well, dude. And the thing is, when you hear these tracks like this, for fans of B and them, they'd probably hear it and not heard a whole lot of Rick Monroe, but also gives them a chance to go back and check out your music as well. But also it's good to not be a one-dimensional musician. And I think that's one thing that I've enjoyed about diving into your music. So a big shout out to Shauna for sending this over. But, having all these different influences in your music as well. Tell me a little bit about the track. I'm jumping from there, sorry, but tell me about the track World's Gone Crazy, man, because that one, I really dug that one as well. And I liked all the little news videos you done for the World's Gone Crazy as well on YouTube. I do have to mention them.
They are pretty funny. And the sad thing is, those are all real news stories.
I know. It's
not like we're making it up. We're literally finding news on it. It's like the guy with the attack squirrel that he, called D's nuts. That's a real story. Yeah. Of course, he was feeding it methamphetamines. It's a guy from Florida, of course. I'm from Florida, so. But no. So we were doing the record, and Malcolm's like, man, we need another rocker, man. We need this song. Just kick in the teeth rocker, man. I'm like, all right. So Alan and I we get together to write. We're sitting in here, and man, we're just not getting anything. And all of a sudden, I was just like, hey, man, have you seen the new Nas X video? And he's like, which one? I'm like, I don't know, that Montero thing or whatever that one is. It's like, he does a lap dance for the devil. And Alan's like, no, I don't want to see it. I'm like, no, you have to see it. So I play it, and we're both watching it. And we're just looking at each other going, this world, I'm like, this world has gone crazy. Like, what is this? This is some guy doing a lap dance for the devil, and this guy selling his blood in tennis shoes. And that's literally what became like the whole, that sparked us. And I said, "We're going crazy." And he's like, I just hit a riff, and then we just bang, it came out. It's like, dancing to the devil's do-si-do and all that.
Yeah, the world definitely did go crazy and has gone crazy at times. That's for sure. Over the last few years, people spent far too much time watching the news and not getting out there and living their life as well, getting along to shows. So that's why I'm glad things are opening up. We can kind of all get our heads out of the clouds a little bit, each and every one of us, and start getting along to shows and getting along to bands and supporting the scene as well. I want to talk about the Best of You track, man, the Foo Fighters cover. That was cool as bloody hell, man. I have to say, I got a smile when I noticed the Not Dave Grohl shirt.
Yes. Well, dude, I've had so many people, even people who are friends with Dave Grohl, like, will take a second look when I walk in a room. They're like, "Oh, I thought you were Dave." And I get that. I mean, I got off a bus once at a festival. We weren't even playing. We were just hanging out. And this kid runs up to me. He's like, "Hey, can I have your autograph?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Cool." And I sign it. And he's looking. He's like, "It's not him. I don't know who this is." And I'm like, so.
I actually interviewed another guy from a metalcore band out of Perth, and he had the same thing happen to him. Someone run up and thought he was someone from Amity Affliction or Asking Alexandria, and like, "Hey man, go get a photo on that." And he just kind of posed for it and then went about his day.
Yeah, well, I was like, it was funny because I was on tour with Aaron Lewis at the time, and Aaron's laughing about it. I'm like, no one even asked for your autograph. So whatever.
Yeah, God's Ear. I do want to mention that track. That was a really beautiful track, man, and actually made me tear up a little bit as well, as someone who lost my niece to cancer as well last year, dude. So I want to mention that. And tell me all about that and the charity that you were raising some money for.
Well, the thing is, that's actually the first track that we did with Malcolm. That's kind of like that was the test track to see if we were going to like enjoy working together. And he got Peter Collins involved, and that's who picked that song. Man, the weirdest thing was I wrote that song like 10 years ago on a writer's retreat. Like, we were in between writing, and my buddy and I were just talking. He started telling me the story, and that song just came out in like 10 minutes, and it's been sitting, on a hard drive ever since. And and I went through the situation where I lost my brother, and then I lost my dad, both to cancer. And a lot of people have had cancer around us. And so I thought the song seemed appropriate at the time because it would just get those emotions out. And then we also started dealing with St. Jude, which, does children cancer research. Yeah. And we were able to talk to them about, donating like 25% of all the download proceeds to St. Jude from that song. So we set it up for that. And so, go buy the songs and you're doing good for somebody else. And St. Jude is one of the most amazing charities there is. I've gone there to the hospital, and they really do. They go above and beyond. And quick side note, Danny Thomas, the man who created St. Jude, was an actor, comedian back from, I think, like the 50s, 60s, and 70s or whatever. And great story was, his wife went in and had a baby, and he needed $75 to get them out of the hospital to pay the bill. Didn't have it. He went and he prayed to God and said, "If you help me get this money, I will do whatever I will do something for you. I will do something big." Well, the next day he gets a call from his agent, gets a gig for $75. Beautiful Power story. Of prayer. Beautiful so he story. Does it's amazing. That's why the song to me and St. Jude really, really goes together for that as well.
Yeah, not only the lyrics, but the heartfelt way in which you sang that song really did do it justice. And I think that's why I kind of first playthrough, dude, I teared up, man. It was a really beautiful track, man. You've done really well on it, eh?
Thank you. Yeah, I actually cried a couple times while we were cutting it. So every once in a while when we play it live to it, it'll get me.
Yeah, where's the best place people can get along to support you, Rick? You've got a website, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just rickmonroe.com. It's got all of our stuff, and you got all of our social medias are on there. And, obviously, we're really active on social media. Yeah. And we're always and we do a lot of funny, stupid things like boots and shorts or the videos or, we're always trying to come up with new stuff. And hey, this next couple of weeks is going to be crazy because we're going to be out on the road. We're basically out on the road until October. We're out with Ted from the end of August and all of September. We're playing ahead like a festival in Switzerland end of September. So we're gonna be busy.
And then album on the way as well, yeah.
Well, I mean, we got the album that we just cut. I mean, we cut the whole album, so it's still sitting there. So I think we're just going to keep doing, because it's kind of sad, because you want to put all the songs out, but if you put everything out and one of them doesn't hit, kind of the rest of the songs fall by the wayside. So we're gonna kind of keep slow rolling songs out as we go, and then eventually we'll probably we've been talking about doing like a limited pressing vinyl, and doing a limited pressing actual physical CD as well, and then we'll put it up as an album or an EP, or maybe we'll do 2 EPs or something as we roll them out.
Yeah, it's a weird bloody time, isn't it? You've got to release it a single at a time. Back when we were growing up, you'd just be like, you'd hear 1 or 2 singles and the album would be out, and you would go down and actually buy the album, and you know what I mean, and then check all the bands. So it's great to see that, like, when people are still releasing albums, but I think in the scenes that we're in, people will go out and still buy those albums and merch, and more so when you're on tour as well, having those connections with fans, going over and buying those albums, also a big part of the music these days.
Yeah. Well, and I think I said, if you roll it out properly, I mean, it is weird, man. Cause when I was younger, you were so much more invested. And I mean, that's the problem. It's weird just talking about, like TikTok stars and all these other people that kind of just happen overnight, where it used to be, you could have a record, it would do okay. The next record do a little bit better. You get 3 or 4 records in, and then all of a sudden it explodes. And then, then all of a sudden you have this long history, and people become invested. Like, you wait for your favorite album to come out. You wait to go see your favorite movie. And now you're just like, don't like it. Nope. So I guess you got to find a way to connect with people. I mean, I guess honesty still connects with people. So hopefully, we can keep creating stuff that's honest, that will connect and transcend kind of the disposable world we live in.
It's definitely connected, Rick, man. This has been an absolute pleasure meeting you, getting to dive into your music, man. It's definitely something that's going to be in my collection and being played really loud, man. I really, really mean it. Really enjoyed your music, and it was an absolute pleasure to come across it. Like, it really did impact me, man, because I've never been like huge on country, but when I heard yours, man, I was like, dude, it just blew me away. You know what I mean? To have that, and it must be encouraging for you as well to have that effect on fans, considering with the current tour with Ted Nugent, I'm sure you've heard it a lot at the moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of people are like, man, I didn't know what to expect, but man, you guys are cool. I mean, dude, you're sitting with a Black Sabbath and a hell yeah thing behind you, and you're liking our music. That's awesome. What can I say?
That's it. Everybody, you can catch Rick Monroe and the Hitman on tour. As he said, he's currently on tour with Ted Nugent, but you're going to be on tour for quite a while. You can go check out the current tracks with Rick Monroe and the Hitman. I can't recommend them enough. Common Ground, World's Gone Crazy. Even go check out that Foo Fighters cover, not Dave Grohl, okay? It is not Rick Monroe. And the God's Ear. Really, really get along to that. And I've got to mention, where's the best place to buy the digital so people can support that one, man?
Obviously, iTunes, Amazon Music, anywhere, even Tidal, wherever they actually will still sell it, it's there. So all the stuff is available there,
So support that cause, get along, go buy the digital track of that. Rick Monroe, any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything you'd like to add in there? I may have forgotten.
Well, but thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you for spreading the word, and so hopefully we'll get to go by you and have you at a show.
Love to, man. I plan on getting over there next year. So hopefully, if you're still on tour, get to catch you guys some stage.
Well, maybe we'll come over there, though. How's that?
That would be good, man. Fuck yeah. I'll show you around the place. Cheers, mate.
That's what we need to do.
Get down under. Rick Monroe. Get along. We got any promoters there? Get Rick Monroe down under. Cheers, mate.
Hey, man, actually, here's a real quick. I tell you a really crazy story. Vivo phones. Vivo phones is a big thing in Asia. They stole our song "This Side of You" and put it on 65 million phones. So like Indonesia, China, India, Malaysia, maybe even some in Australia. But I mean, it's like a big thing. So we're trying to figure out how to get over there and tour, because it's on every phone that
I'm going to Indonesia next week, dude.
Yeah, I bet "This Side of You" is like a weird underground hit, and it's on a bunch of people's phones. So I bet if you ask them, "Do you have This Side of You" on their phone?" They'll be like, "Oh, dude, I do."
I am so doing that when I go to Indonesia next week. I'm going there for a week next week, dude. So that gives me a whole week to track that down. There's a little bit of homework on my holidays.
Yeah, Vivo phones. It's just like some weird thing. Like, I just talked to that guy. So anyways.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Rico. You have a lovely evening.
Yeah, but you too.
Cheers. Cool.
Cool, man.
Done, mate. Cheers, mate.